All right, now we're ready. All right, so I sent you some notes, and you read through them. Did you have any questions right off, or do you want to just go down the list?
Let's go down the list.
I added some at the end as well from looking at it now that it's been a month or two. I think the main thing that I remember and that stands out to me is kind of like thinking of the different pathways that users would take to get into the site and what they would have maybe been exposed to before that, or what their origin is, what link they clicked to get there, and whether that's a consistent messaging throughout. So let's see, we're wanting to review and make sure you're really targeting individuals, not just clinicians, because sometimes or over time that has maybe shifted. Is that right?
Correct.
Great. I guess my first note, I was looking at the osteoporosis stuff right before this, but this is the homepage. Let me share my screen. So this is the homepage here. And I did feel like the breakdown here of the audiences was good.
Okay.
I have no complaints about that one.
You don't think it's too confusing?
Not necessarily. This part isn't the part that stands out to me as like something to work on. I think I'm more concerned about what happens after you click on that button.
Sure. Okay.
This also seems pretty clear. Private yoga therapy for individuals is pretty descriptive. And then these other things, I think people would kind of know what that is right away. Once we get to individuals, though, I think there's a lot I could say. You have a distraction-free header, which I like generally because it could be a landing page. And then if people have come here from some kind of marketing that is really targeted for individuals and you don't really want them to see the clinical stuff, they're not going to click around in the menu and get to clinical things. But I think the title is a little confusing. This menu, which is just an organization of this page, I think for individuals, that's kind of the category bucket they're in. But if they already came from clicking a for individuals link, then we want that to be like the title, not one of the options. And if they didn't come through the homepage and they're coming from a source that's really targeted at private sessions, they might not know what this is distinct from, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think maybe, yeah, it's kind of like you've hidden the rest of the site, but then you're kind of focusing in on like, this is the section of the site you're in without the context being present.
So that menu,
Yeah.
should it be a distraction-free header, but like still have the menu available from the rest of the site? One thing that like I don't think that all of our information is on here, right? So this is like the landing page for private yoga therapy, but like it doesn't have access to our rates. It doesn't have access to our yoga therapists. And
Right.
it doesn't have access to the online booking, right? And so,
Yeah.
is it better to like include all of that on this page or make a separate, keep that distraction-free header, but make it so that the user is able to access the other important parts of the website for that specific audience?
I think so. You don't necessarily have to bring back the site-wide header to do that. I think you could do sections. I'm not sure about the nav. Let's hold off on the question about the nav and come back to that. But if you did have a section that was like meet our yoga therapists and it was kind of just a preview and brought them over to if there's an about page with bios.
Yeah.
I think that's a section I've seen elsewhere on your site.
Yeah, we have a specific page for that.
So as long as when they click that bios link over to the full page, you just want to make sure that page can stand as either something that clinicians could look at or individuals can look at and like not have that dissonance of like,
Sure.
wait, why are they talking about XYZ?
Sure.
So I think that is a good point. Pricing, I think, would make sense. Maybe not as a whole section, but as a button somewhere.
Okay.
And I don't think it's a problem necessarily if they click through to the pricing and on the pricing page, there's for clinicians, for individuals, because at that point they're pretty deep into the journey and they can it's not a problem for them to see that you have other offerings. As long as it's just like super clear which one applies to them. And just to kind of elaborate on what that might look like make sure that it's not all for clinicians and then goes to all for individuals. Make sure that like from the top of the page, there's a clear like
Yeah, it's pretty much geared towards individuals as it
already.
is. The only thing that I am considering adding is information about affiliate pricing for
Gotcha.
clinician. Like this is specifically about private yoga therapy.
Sure.
And so even just adding a sentence about how we do offer affiliate pricing for, you know, the clients of clinicians or however I would explain that. But yeah, the rest is
Totally.
pretty much all for individuals.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that you could send them from the individual's landing page to here. Cool. Yeah. I like that. And like while we're here, we could, the other page we talked about is this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this also um, seems like it fits perfectly well with an individual's like website journey. It's not
Mm,
jumping into anything. And people can have individual sessions with any of these providers,
correct.
right? Oh, great. I think that would help a lot.
Okay.
I think for to go back to the nav bar question, just because that's kind of where we are, I think when you're covering like distinct topics in one page that people might be like scanning for, that people came looking for a
Yeah.
specific thing, then it makes more sense to have these like jump to links. But usually testimonials and a blog role on like on a different page, they're not kind of like things people are scanning for usually. So contact us makes sense. For individuals isn't really like distinct from, so then you would just kind of have two things. So that's where if you did put some of those other pricing and about and things in there, it might start to make a little more sense. The only thing then is, I guess, depending on how primed they are when they come to this site. So, for example, if you were doing kind of more of a spray and pray marketing, or like a Google Ads Performance Max or something, where they don't necessarily know much at all about you or yoga therapy before they click the link, you might not want to give them the option to go deep right away. You might want to force them to go through the first section so that you can give them like a little bit of context before they start reading bios or see the price, for example.
Sure.
But if it's mostly through referral and you think pretty much there's already been some introduction to the concept and or people came through like a blog post, for example, since most of your blog posts are pretty deep dive, then maybe it does make more sense to give them the option to jump straight through. So
Yeah, I mean, most of our clients like are I call them researchers. They're Googling, they're searching, they're looking for information. And the blog seems to be where we capture those people,
mhm,
right? But we do get a lot of like direct traffic to our homepage, right?
sure.
In which case I want to make sure that they have access to the information that they need.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, honestly, just in our talk right now, I'm kind of feeling like this header, this menu
Yeah,
on top of this page is maybe not so necessary.
that's
And
kind
maybe
of
we
my
treat this
thinking
more like
too.
a link.
If they came through your homepage, they already had the option to click on about and pricing, so you don't really need to give it to them again.
Sure, I can just
Um,
give it to them in a button and like somewhere in the
right.
content.
It's kind of like partway through their journey, you're offering like, is this what you want now? But if they did come through the homepage too, they can always click back to get that full menu
Hmm.
also.
Sure.
Um,
Or that
I
logo is clickable
right.
for sure.
Yep, that too. Which some people will know. Most people intuitively will know, but some people will not. Also, this is backtracking a little bit just because we wandered a tiny bit, but as far as this, I brought up that what we offer might not be the right title. It makes sense because it is kind of like services was the grouping on the homepage, services for individuals, for clinicians. And so what we offer for individuals, like that follows that grouping. I think something like just taking out this and making this the title or making that the most prominent text might be because if you just assume that they already are, you don't need to tell the audience who they are. You know what I mean?
Right,
Assume that
right.
they
Yeah.
act as if they are the primary audience, kind of. They've already made it here. You've made this for them. You don't need to tell them who they are. You just need to tell them what you're offering them.
Mhm.
Second. Okay. So just like one other thing I noted at the time was that if you do want to just reinforce or reiterate the for individuals thing, you could use the word individuals or private sessions in the paragraph text directly following the headline that's a little more like we are focused on yoga therapy, and then it could mention we offer private sessions in Connecticut or etc. or online, and kind of like in like bold something about private sessions or individuals just to like confirm that is what this page is about.
Yeah.
But kind of like say more about it in the body. So then switching topics. This is a good landing page for individuals, but yoga therapy, individuals who would be interested in yoga therapy is like a huge bucket. And I think it's a little bit hard for you to kind of speak to their problem if those problems are so myriad, like depending on, again, how they're coming here. If they're coming from a blog post and it's a deep dive, they probably aren't, if they're an individual, they're probably not reading all the blog posts about anxiety, osteoporosis, Crohn's disease, and long COVID. Or maybe they're just really into reading. But that's kind of more, I feel like, what a clinician would do. And individuals, they're probably more like anxiety, depression, trauma, breathing, panic attacks. They're probably like in one bucket and they're really interested in that. And I think inadvertently you're painting this as a generalist thing, which you can have multiple areas of service, but I also know that it's not your goal to like focus on every single type of ailment, so to speak.
Yeah.
I think remind me, it's trauma, anxiety, depression, mental health stuff is one of the biggest categories.
And then chronic pain, autoimmune. We're actually getting a lot of people for dysfunctional breathing, and then cancer.
Cool. That's pretty clear. There's like three sort of veins. Great. Chronic health. Okay, I pretty much had that in the notes. Let's see. Mental health, maybe all one page. Anxiety and depression often coexist, right? And a lot of the blog posts are covering multiple facets of mental health. And then I guess I was going to ask, like, do you think the chronic pain and the autoimmune are different enough, or are those also connected enough that they would be maybe a single bucket?
So I think they're going to be separate.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. They often coincide. So I think there may be some overlapping content, but yeah, we do get some people who are just chronic pain and some people who are just autoimmune.
Sure. Got it. Chronic pain, for some reason to me seems almost too niche for this first iteration, but I don't know that for sure. Because like I would maybe try to have 3 buckets, or the other one's like mental health. It's specific, but it's people who are struggling with like PTSD are not necessarily the same people that are struggling with like depression. They can be, but they're not always. And I guess with autoimmune, you've got a lot of different conditions under that.
Right. And like part of, because we do see trauma and autoimmune together, we see trauma and chronic pain together. Cancer has trauma and anxiety and depression, right? So they are all overlapping. And just as we talk, I am thinking maybe separating out like the trauma PTSD component, anxiety, depression. Like I could even see just making each of those separate versus mental health globally, getting just really specific about what people might be searching for and how we can help them.
Right. I think too, it's you're not talking about like all mental health either.
Right.
Like it is pretty focused in. Yeah, so maybe and normally I don't think that like separating further is a bad thing as long as you've fleshed those out. You just don't want to have one thing I've had I've seen a lot in my day is like we have sometimes people going too broad and it's just like everybody on one page and then you're not really talking to anybody. But then if you separate it into too many buckets, but there's not enough content to support all those pages. Like you don't want people clicking links and then being disappointed by what they find there. You want to have enough meat at the end of every stick. Not a metaphor I've used before. I don't know where that came from, but because yeah, a link is almost like a little promise of like information. And if there's just not really enough to support that, then it sort of sometimes makes more sense to just kind of group things together.
Sure.
So, okay, I'll let you work on what what the different like that's partly why too I was like maybe divide it into three categories, build those out, and then you can further divide them as you have time. An iterative process often works. That would like look a little bit more natural than having a general bucket and then like one specific thing like Crohn's disease,
Yeah, sure.
but there's different ways to go about it.
Yeah.
And if you did have one very, very specific aspect that you want to focus on, that would be fine too.
Okay.
Again, it also just depends like on how it's presented and how people are getting there. Okay, again. Okay, so in that vein still, you could still have this landing page for the individuals, but maybe this is a place too to kind of be the hub to connect out to all those folks. I would use it kind of as an overview page that some of those folks that are having more than one issue, this is where they would see what the options are and bookmark for later. Oh, I want to go see the chronic pain page, but then I'm going to come back and look at the anxiety page too.
Sure. Sure.
I also noticed that for clinicians, I'm going to go back to for clinicians, you have a real clear statement of the problem. Is your client feeling stuck or struggling with unexplained health issues? This is a pain point that a clinician could have. They're trying to solve someone's problem and you're offering like a tool for them. We didn't really see the same thing for individuals. It's more like you're offering the solution, but you're not really stating the problem that it's addressing. I think saying to somebody, we can heal you is
Yeah, sure.
helpful, or like we can reduce your symptoms. That's helpful, but it's not as powerful as saying like, have you been struggling with panic attacks? We can help you manage those symptoms. Like
yeah.
it's kind of like a best practice usually to kind of state the problem before providing the solution. Or so I would just encourage you to do that on
The individual landing pages.
what can we call those? Like the symptom specific pages, or the like condition specific. There you go. On the condition specific pages, I would spend a little bit of time just reflecting back how the condition is affecting their life and therefore why it wants to be solved, just as a way people know what they're struggling with, right? But it to be seen, it feels good to see that you are that the person who's offering the solution actually knows what the problem is first. So that's pretty good best practice that's often overlooked. The other thing about that is you have a nice I always like a blog post, a blog roll at the bottom of a page, because it's kind of like if they haven't clicked on anything yet, they get a chance to kind of explore, it like leave them with something to do. I might move the contact page up above the blog posts just because this is, your primary say, right? You're wanting them to.
We actually want them to book with us.
Right.
I don't even know if there is like a book now on this. Like,
yeah, book phone
we
consultation.
have a phone consultation, but like we want them to book directly. They can now
Sure.
book directly. We now have that technology. So
got it.
They can book a phone consultation, or they can just book their intake session.
Gotcha.
So I mean, the contact is
please contact me to book
redundant.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's almost like questions. Contact us to chat about,
Yeah, when like they could just schedule a phone consultation.
Yeah.
And like we do have a global contact form.
Sure.
Maybe we can get rid of that contact on the individual page and just have them book a phone consultation.
Yep.
Because that's usually what we end up doing. If somebody reaches out to us, then we have to play tag a little bit to say, okay, well, when are you available? It's just extra steps. So
and I see that there is the option for like, do you have any questions? This is a free phone consultation. And This one's an intake. This just goes in, it's the same
It's just our
process. It
online
just,
booking.
gotcha. Because these are like different links. So I was just wondering this one.
That one's directly for a phone consultation. The book now is for, kind of any location, any therapist.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I would take the
Okay.
contact form off. It
Okay.
does seem redundant. And I just kind of, I mean, the newsletter sign up makes sense at the bottom, but I do like to kind of leave the blog post as the last thing to just give them the next step of the journey
Yeah.
if they haven't converted to anything else. I guess what I was going to say is that this one, so part of what I really like with a blog roll at the bottom of different pages is you can give them category specific posts. This one is a good intro. And so it kind of does make sense on this very general page, but I would just say like you have a lot of content that's good and you cover a lot of stuff around these conditions. Having a grouping of like anxiety or
Sure.
prone specific posts on the conditions pages would make sense. Unreal, like kind of on that note, I don't think you have a search function on your blog.
We don't. So that's something that needs to be updated. Yeah,
Because I
to show
wanted
the
one. I was
categories.
like,
I
I'm
know.
looking for stuff. I want to see what posts you have about X, you know?
Yeah,
And
now we have a lot more content than we did a while ago, so
sure.
it's worth it to search for it. So like that at the end of each blog post, we have relevant, that's all
Mhm.
relevant by tags.
And so the tags and categories just like aren't surfaced though right now, right? So
Exactly. Yeah, you
there's
can't
not
see
really
them.
a way. And I think even so, this one is breathing. We're getting a little off topic right now, but I'm like as far as landing page design here, but this one's like stress relief, nervous system regulation. That to me is a little more in the anxiety depression category, like mental health, mental physical wellness. But then we have like the osteoporosis one as one of the
Mhm.
recommended.
When we actually have a lot more like breath work articles and things
Yeah,
like
like
that.
the other two I can see it. This one's a little bit more middle of the road. Like I think stress relief is like a wide appeal type. It could be people who are just stressed at their jobs right now.
Yeah, sure.
They don't necessarily have PTSD
Yeah.
or like they wouldn't necessarily consider themselves recovering from trauma. But I know, yeah, like you were saying, I know you have many posts that are very specifically deep dive on this breathing technique or
Mhm.
like here's, certain strain of yoga and how it works with the breath or etc. I think these could get more specific is the point.
Okay. Yeah.
More targeted. And the osteoporosis one certainly does not fit here. Um,
Yeah.
so maybe like a little audit of that. All right. That was a little off topic. Let me go back to different audiences. Yep, covered that. I guess one other thing I had just noted is that when we have those condition specific pages, if you have referral sources, clinicians that refer clients to you, you could just go the extra mile a little bit to
Right.
email that clinician and be like, hey, we actually divided up our website, and if you could share this link
Mm.
whenever you're talking to somebody, that
Yeah.
would be really helpful. And similarly, if you did want to run ads at some point, or if you are like doing a backlink campaign with SEO where you're trying to, get some links, then sharing the or not the chronic, the condition specific page could be really good.
Yeah.
Let's see more. I sent this to you. New territory. Oh, you know what? No, I just had one more thought on that, sharing the specific URL. So you could actually kind of like consider that path and the source as like something to take into account when you're deciding how to break things up. Because if you have a lot of referral sources that work with uh, like a combination of things, you
Mhm.
kind of only want to give them one URL to share, unless they have like really two
Sure.
really distinct buckets,
Sure.
I guess, that they work with, then you could give them two. But yeah, just thinking about all of the sources, all of the paths, and you don't ever want to like divide into two when it's all one,
Sure.
um, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
That's a good point.
So it's a little bit of imagination too, because you are thinking about what you might plan for the future also,
Yeah.
as far as promoting the site. Something I did send you is this Headspace as a good example. I looked at a lot of examples,
Mm,
and I would say it was a little hard to find one that sort of what you're doing structurally and that I think is good. There were a lot where I was like, they could improve. But I mean, this, aside from the fact that this is like a huge mega menu, which
mhm.
is its own thing, it does have it kind of like broken out into conditions, and sort of like helps people just self-select into the main thing that they're struggling with. Not that sleep and mindfulness couldn't both be interesting to somebody, but they get to put themselves into a category. And then they also still have like for business, which is kind of it's similar to the clinician side or your
Yeah, right.
corporate retreats and things like that. So they did it in an interesting way where they have more it's all one nav, but it's like kind of in two chunks, which I haven't seen that a lot. I think it could be
Mm,
interesting to like maybe even do different font colors or something like that if
mm,
there's two kind of categories of
sure.
things. I'm not necessarily sure this is the right layout for yours, but I just wanted to show the breakdown. I would also just like, yeah, keep looking. Again, I didn't find a lot of other examples that I really felt like, ooh, look at this.
Mm,
But this is one. Um, and just continue looking at what other people are doing as far as like organizing information is always interesting.
sure.
Let's see what else. So now the other comments I have are more about like the blog post specifically and less about the overall site messaging. It's connected, but before this, I was kind of like, you know, Googling around. I or like looking at the SEO metrics because last time we talked about, well, maybe not last time, but a couple times ago we talked about keywords. Osteoporosis was one of them. I wanted to see what happened. I think it hasn't been necessarily enough time because there's been a lot of
Mm.
this. But
Yeah, it's only been maybe a month.
it's only been a month. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's always something about like the post being new and the post not having enough age and things like that.
Mm,
Shut off my phone because it's annoying. I think in that 1 month, I've just seen that, you added another blog post about uh, osteoporosis. I saw that you linked in both directions, so that was good. It seems like some of your osteoporosis keywords have gone down, some have gone up.
mm,
It's inconclusive at this time. Overall, your traffic is going up, and you have some spikes there,
mm,
I think. Hold on. Oops. Oh my God. There we go. You do have some spikes around the time that you published the article. I
mhm.
don't know if those are significant enough. 2 clicks, it's probably not like a good enough sample size. Could have
Yeah,
been like,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know, but yeah, I think overall, I'm seeing like a nice trend.
yeah.
Um, I want to talk about who you're talking to with the posts. And I think it might be a function of like how you've been evolving the business over time, and that makes a lot of sense. But some of them I think do really feel a lot more like you're talking to a clinician than an individual. I think like I looked at breathwork panic attacks one, which on one hand, something that has a really clinical vibe isn't necessarily a bad thing if you're trying to demonstrate like expertise and
Mhm.
professionalism. And maybe the research deep divers actually like that because you want to talk to them at their level. And so I thought this was really interesting, but I also noticed, there's very little actual tangible like examples of like what it is. It's more talking about what it's not. Not all breathwork approaches are evidence-based. And you talk about something being contraindicated and you talk about all of the benefits, but it's a little bit like too much of teasing the information without actually providing the information. I think that is like a little bit of a trend, and I can understand why in your content, I can understand why you might want to do that because offering people like DIY stuff in any kind of clinical sense could be potentially like liability or like
Yeah, yeah, and it's kind of the opposite. The whole point of our work is that it is not like one size fits all.
Right,
It's
exactly.
customizable, and so we've always kind of had a hard time like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, we're doing these practices and doing some yoga, but like how do we make this individualized approach, but at the
Hmm.
same time share some of the things that we do without saying, here, just try this and see if it works. It's kind of the opposite
Yeah.
of what we want. And we've also always thought giving away the keys to the kingdom that comes up a lot, and it's like we don't want to give away the keys to the kingdom necessarily,
Mhm.
but at the same time, if we can share more valuable information with people, then that's going to be a good thing or a positive thing. So I think that's where this approach on like what it's not, and less about what to do instead, it's just
Mm-hmm.
been it's been a little, it's felt a little dicey, it felt a little
Yeah,
uncertain terrain.
for sure. I think that is normal. It does feel like if you give away your best stuff, then like what are they
Yeah, right.
paying for? That being said, if they're gonna find out in like the first session your best stuff, then why do they come back? Really, it's the relationship and the you're providing structure for like how many
Yeah.
people go to physical therapists when you can just easily Google like, physical therapy for ankle sprain, right? Or whatever
Fair. Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a rhyme
Um,
for a reason. Yeah.
yeah, I think yoga therapy is kind of a less known and less developed field. And so you do have some knowledge probably that's kind of it's hard to find. It's hard to get otherwise. I think the longer that your profession and your field is around, the less and less that knowledge will become like a secret. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So, do you see what I mean? It's like that technique only works for so long, and then
Right. Right.
people can just Google it. So you better make some other kind of like value add or like
Yeah.
prove your worth in a different way, if that makes sense. Really, part of like sharing some of the good stuff, right, up front is that if you are able to help somebody in
Mm.
just like the first interaction that they have with your brand, then that builds trust and they like want to give you money, if that
Sure.
makes sense.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
they get something of value, then that shows them that they will get something of value. Do you know what I mean? And they feel like, well, I want to go further with this because I've already seen that it works a little bit. It can be a little scary for people to spend money when they're like, there's some mystery thing. I don't know what it is. I don't even know if it'll work for me. It's a fine balance. I think I would worry more about the thing of like trying to individualize it too, because I think that is a very real concern that people kind of like do self-treatment and then think that is the same thing as what they would get with you. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly. And
Uh,
I guess, we can do it where we emphasize that this doesn't work for everybody. And,
mhm.
part of the benefit of working with a yoga therapist is that you get that customized
Yes.
approach. But, here's some things that tend to work with a lot of people.
Hmm.
Maybe
Or
taking
you could do like a little story or case study. It doesn't even have to be like a specific person, but you'd say you
Mm,
could the title, the heading could be something about like individualized
mm,
plans or something. And then you could give an example. So a person who presents with this, we might recommend XYZ because of their
yeah.
specific situation, this, that, and the other thing. And in that way, you are revealing a little bit of like, here are some examples of what we're talking about, but you're tying it to a specific use case. So people don't necessarily think that that's going to apply to everybody unless they actually fit that exact model of like the experience that the case study person was having.
Yeah,
That
it
might
also
be one
gives an
way.
idea of how we work with people, without necessarily saying, hey, try this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. And we have found that we use case studies. We have brought in some case studies in some of the posts, and we have used case studies in the clinician, in like the health professional landing pages, but not really in that way.
Mhm.
I like this approach of like using the case study as a way to show what we might choose under what conditions and like why that is, because that gives us the chance to really explain what we're thinking about when we're doing it and why we might choose certain practices. So that's a really great idea. I'm going to incorporate
Cool.
that.
And I mean, you could definitely emphasize too that like the sessions are confidential, so this is just a fake example, an imaginary.
Or an amalgam or something. Yeah.
Exactly. I think I like that because it brings in the storytelling aspect. But also sometimes when you're a little too hesitant to give away the keys, for example, sometimes people can be a little bit anxious about the unknown. And they'll be a
Yeah,
little bit
I'm
like,
definitely,
what is this going to be like?
I'm definitely getting that from our conversation and like, even just reflecting on, what, yeah, these articles do show that we have a lot of knowledge about things and like that expertise, right? But in terms of getting somebody to actually convert from reading this article, well, there is still that unknown of like, what will this be, right? Should I give them this money? So yeah, I really appreciate that observation.
Sure. That's a little bit kind of like within like a software tool or something where you let people use it for free for a little while and then you're like,
right.
and that's the end of the free trial. But you're not necessarily like it would be a little tiring for a one-on-one service to be giving a lot of free. So the blog post is a little bit trying to give a peek into a free session,
Yeah.
so that people can really see themselves doing it and get a little bit of that experience of enjoying it. I also noticed, okay, so on that same note, I wrote because I had clicked through to the 478 because I was like, maybe you are sharing some of these techniques. And this one you kind of are with the 4062. So here's how it goes. And you could kind of let people can actually follow along in this article. So I was like, oh, maybe it's just kind of like some articles are giving DIY and some aren't. So then I was a little bit like, yeah, but it's like if somebody's an individual and they're looking to solve this problem, it's not clear how to get to those DIY. So I was like, maybe you are already doing that somewhat, but it's not linked enough. It's like not organized enough that when they come to the page, that's like a drug-free approach to managing panic attacks, even though you link to the article where there is an actual tangible thing that they can do, not tangible exactly, but like a concrete thing that they can do. The way that it's linked doesn't make that clear. It's more like, don't do this breathing technique. Nowhere does it really say, like, if you click this link, you actually will get a very like concrete breathing technique you could try right now. It's almost like the opposite. So it's like you are giving it away in a way, but you're not telling people. You're hiding it in there.
Yeah.
The other thing I noticed that was so interesting because this whole thing was about like speaking to the audience. Is this a different author than this? Or
So those
maybe
are the same, right? Those are, but what you can't see is the category. And so that
right.
breath work, a drug-free approach,
Or clinicians.
that's in the category for individuals.
That makes sense then. I was about to ask. I was like, it seems like this one's for individuals. So, which is interesting because the link, then why link between them?
Yeah, great question.
Yeah, like
Great
just
question.
because the topic was there, um, it's a little scattered right now.
Yeah.
And maybe surfacing the categories helps, maybe even within the blog, if you are going to like write to different groups, maybe having 4 clinicians and then a bunch of posts and then 4 individuals, a bunch of posts or something like that, or just, using those blog roles more.
Yeah.
But it is a little jarring to, if somebody is browsing, to go from something that's so scientific and focused on kind of like the correct treatment method to something that's like, trust me, I feel your surprise. Like, let's dig deeper, It's like,
Yeah,
whoa, sudden change of tone.
Yeah, right. And I think that's part of this transition over to the individuals, right? We found that actually the people Googling are the individuals, right?
Yeah.
And now, does it have to be in such a friendly tone? Not necessarily. But can we keep some of the clinical aspect and still speak to the individuals that we want to speak to? I think so. think so.
Yeah, I think there's the balance. And I'm not like mad at the town. It's more like I want it to be a little bit like more separate, like have different paths that people are on, and the two paths are not just kind of like mixed together.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So that makes sense. And this is normal too, because like as time goes on, people make new blog posts, and that's where with some clients, because you work with us, you have two lives, a double life as a Wheelhorse web person and as a yoga therapy person. But with some clients, we make blog posts for them and new blog posts, like keyword research, et cetera. But then sometimes it's like, okay, we've like covered the topics. We've created all the, et cetera. Let's just go back and build out the posts more. So once you have kind of like, and I think you're well past this point of having like a solid base of content, I think you probably want to shift your focus a little bit more towards improving existing pages, partly because those ones already have some age on them. They've already got some traffic. They've established themselves on Google, and Google likes to see that that content is updated, that it's current. You can do kind of like that skyscraper technique is of trying to like make your post better than higher than all the other skyscrapers. Google what you want that post to rank for, look at what else is out there, make sure that you're covering everything that somebody might be looking for. So, iteration, going back to revisiting old ones and making sure that they're still aligned with what you're trying to do, especially as like just the business evolves over time, that might be more productive than making new posts. Low quality content on your website, well, could actually hurt you even. So that's what I have to say about that. I think we've covered everything except that I just want to talk about one more thing, which is about internal links. Let me go to the trauma FAQ page, which I don't know what nope, recent posts. Nope, it's not recent.
Yoga therapy trauma.
Yoga therapy trauma. Let's find that. Great job. So we had talked about this being sort of a hub page because you're kind of covering all these different questions, and the different questions could be their own spokes over time. But I think I was like taking issue a little bit with the anchor text, particularly around it's called Brain, Body, Spirit article. That was kind of the example I was pulling out. So, okay, brain, body, spirit connection in the context of trauma. And then we wanted to build this out into a complete, more of an elaborate, we wanted to elaborate on this topic. And you did do that. But I think that the anchor text of a link is important. I think we've got this wording wholeness, and the word innate is in there in this article, but I think you may be missing out by making this anchor text be a phrase that's not present in the article it links to. Do you see what I mean? I would more say, well, you have brain, body, spirit connection in the heading here, but then it's not mentioned in the paragraph below.
Yeah.
I would repeat this phrase in the paragraph below, and I would make that the link, because then Google's going to be like, okay, you highlighted the word brain, body, spirit connection, you linked it, and when people click it, they end up at a page that is titled blah containing brain, body, spirit connection. That's really showing that you're not doing any kind of bait and switch. You're being super upfront about what they're going to see on the other side of the link. And that really adds a lot of trustworthiness. I know that this is descriptive of what's on that page, but even the user might question whether they clicked on the right thing or whether this link is still valid, just because they don't get that feedback right away. That phrase they were most drawn to is like, even if you incorporated this phrase and kept innate sense of wholeness in that sentence, it could still, you know, show people what they're going to get there if you really want to keep that concept there. But
Yeah, no,
yeah,
that's really good feedback. Thank you.
great. And I kind of noticed that throughout, I think,
Yeah.
throughout other pages too, that there could be a little more. I think I was looking at the osteoporosis one as well, just because we talked about osteoporosis a little bit more specifically. Oh no, can I find it? Yes. Evidence-based approach is linking over to yoga therapy, osteoporosis,
Yeah.
which again, it makes sense. And you might think that this is going to be an article about what it means for it to be an evidence-based approach. Do you know what I mean? As opposed to
Exactly.
what?
Exactly.
This one is the sequence, right? So I like the way that you did it in the opposite direction. I think made a little bit more sense where on this page you linked, I think it was personalized sequences. But again,
Yeah, there's no sequence, right?
it's in the URL.
I don't even think there's any.
You do say it a lot, which is helpful.
Yeah.
But this could be the title of the page, kind of.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean? So that's just like throughout that. I think it is really like a matter of kind of looking at all the content from a big picture lens and like seeing how it all links together, which honestly was a little bit hard to me for me without any tags, categories, or a search bar. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna like scream. Like this is hard. I'll just tell Sarah and then she'll have to do it herself. Granted, I could go in the back end, but like I'm pretending I can't because
Yeah.
you know, a user wouldn't be able to. So anyway, so that's plenty to start with. What do you think? Do you have any other questions or any thoughts about this?
I mean, I do think this is great. I am wondering about the header menu in general, and I know you referenced Headspace, but you know, I do think our header menu is a little like I feel like we can include like a book now, you know, a little
Yeah.
link, and you know, I am kind of surprised that you liked the R services for individuals, for clinicians, etc. So
On
I
the
was thinking,
homepage, I like it. On
yeah,
the,
okay,
we talked a lot about other pages that
yeah,
are not going to include that menu anyway.
yeah,
So,
right, okay, okay,
but I do generally on a homepage, I like a pretty standard about our services contact, which
yeah.
again, I think the contact could be booked now because
Sure.
um,
We do have like a contact page. Um,
I
but
saw that, but I also heard you say that like you don't really want people to contact you that way.
well, we don't want clients necessarily.
Oh, got it.
Like if we're gonna work with a client, like
Mm-hmm.
it's just easier if they book a phone consultation. But like
Mm,
somebody's just asking, even people who are like, "Hey, I'm not sure if yoga therapy is right for me. I have XYZ," right? Sometimes we get those and like, okay, sure, they can send an email.
yeah.
Or we get clinicians who are looking for more information, um, that kind of thing. So, you know, I do think having a contact form is relevant, but like doesn't need to
Mm,
be scattered throughout the website.
yeah. Okay, I've changed my mind. I do think it makes sense to have that contact on the homepage because again, the homepage is just a niche, like I mean, which is funny, but it's in its own way. You don't want the homepage to be too separate from the rest of your
Yeah.
content.
Yeah.
But the homepage is really general, and so I think it does make sense to have a contact page. My one complaint about that is that when they get there, they can book an intake session, they can email you if they're a clinician, or they can fill out the contact form. But we kind of lost that whole book a phone call, and that seemed like that was a really good option for individuals. So I might recommend emphasizing that a little bit more, or like, you know, providing more encouragement for them to actually just book something if they're an individual.
Yeah. Okay. And then do you think that the homepage is like clear enough? It's like a clear enough pathway for individuals who go to our homepage to like
Hmm.
figure out how to learn more about yoga therapy, learn more about us, and book.
Super good question. I guess part of my thinking or thought here is like, how did they get to the homepage? Did they just Google yoga therapy? Because if they did, they probably do want to see what you've got here and they are looking for yoga therapy. They're not necessarily, it kind of depends though. But yeah, I guess I'm thinking if somebody Googled yoga therapy to follow through to they're probably going to be able to follow the path just fine. There are other examples where, for example, if you had like some kind of marketing, networking, you had a business card, you gave someone a business card that had your homepage on it, it might not be like ideal, but also you're going to give that business card to all kinds of people. So unless you're going to segment your business cards, and I'm not sure what I would improve is the thing. I think if I were going to your homepage, I would probably go right into the Our Services drop down or the Our Services, the menu where it's the three buckets side by side. I would probably have no trouble self-selecting into one of those categories.
Okay.
So I think that's why I think the issue is more like what happens when they get past
Sure.
that.
And then the actual listing of for individuals, for clinicians, I'm just wondering, should there be a more clear private yoga therapy, that be its own menu item, individuals links to the same individual landing page? Do we need to go here, right? Very clear. They don't have to hover over our services or try to figure
as another way for people to to filter, because I'm usually not most enthusiastic about duplicating links a bunch in your menu. I think the more overwhelming, the more likely people are to be like, not necessarily clicking the wrong thing, but actually just like not clicking because they're not sure which one goes where and they're worried about getting lost. Like, you know, what's the difference between clinicians and medical providers?
So clinicians is more mental health.
Got it.
Which I would say that's really
they'll probably know which one they are.
Yeah.
But I think if I was looking for private yoga therapy, I would click on Our Services and then I would see individuals and then I would just know I'm an individual. You could test it. Like I would maybe ask a stranger to be like, hey, imagine you want to do some therapy and you're looking to get hooked up with that. Just go to this website and what would you do? You know, like that could be worth testing. But I think if anything, what it's missing is a way for both individuals and clinicians and mental health providers to kind of be like, okay, like I actually just want to only know about like Crohn's disease because I'm like a nutritionist or like that's what I'm struggling with. That's what I'm suffering from. And I actually just don't really care about the rest. If you do those condition specific landing pages and you don't add it to the homepage menu, then you are 100% creating a forced extra step for somebody who maybe came to your website with a very specific thing in mind. And so I always try to like create the direct route if it's there. Yeah. Because people, again, probably aren't going to get that much. If they're struggling with one specific thing, they're probably not going to get that much out of the individual's page. They want to go straight to the autoimmune page, right? And preferably on the autoimmune page, there will be similar links to pricing and bios and things that information that those people would need, as well as a link at the bottom that's like, are you a clinician? Click here to chat with us or something like that, how to refer your patients or get some training or something.
Cool. Thanks.
What else do you think?
That was what was like kind of my main worry actually, was like, are people getting to where they need to go? And like even thinking about what happens after they get like after they click off the homepage, that's also very important. And like I think most of our traffic does come to the homepage, but I'm not sure how much of that is real traffic, you know what I mean? We also get a lot to our blog posts, so I feel like the blog posts are more.
Have we tried to look at like the click-throughs and the paths in analytics? Would that be interesting?
We could do that.
Let me see if I can find anything myself. Does my other account have my other account? Well, I don't know.
You a global
landing page, maybe for CLR or somebody. This all works. Landing page sessions. But I want to see the combined path. Okay. Landing page. Well, okay. Well, let me just show you what I'm looking at right now, and then potentially I'm going to have to like fact check myself, to be honest.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm super prepared. I'm here in the like landing page report of the engagement area of Google Analytics, and we've got the landing page and like, this page path.
Yep.
So I think this is kind of helping us to figure out where people landed, where they actually, you know what? I was looking at it the other way around. I was starting with the pages and screens, sorting it by views. So yes, your homepage 100% has the most views. And then I was adding in the landing page that they came through, including the query string, which is like if you had a not affiliate, well, affiliate links or other URLs that weren't necessarily actually places on your page that would show up here, like a sales. I forget what the name of that is right now. But so a lot of people came through your homepage, ended up on your homepage. There's a lot of people went to the blog. That's like the next biggest bucket, I think, of seeing a specific path. It seems so. What I'm seeing there is more people go to the blog than go to individuals. But
Yeah, right.
then actually, a lot of people are going to individuals. Maybe like a tenth of the people that go to the homepage, but not everybody's going to click a link at all. So
Sure.
I think you could kind of keep an eye on this number and see if like you're seeing like a decline in people actually clicking through the individuals link. If you're wondering about like bringing clinician traffic versus bringing individual traffic, I'm just imagining individuals is always going to be a big bucket because there's more people that are individuals versus
Right. Yeah.
yeah. But that's one way that you could kind of like keep an eye on where they're going after the homepage. Let's see. So some go to individuals, then some go to about, you know, the fact that these are so close together, I don't know. I don't think it makes sense to like bury the about page, like make them self-select into an audience first because it's going to be the same content for either one. So I don't think that necessarily makes sense, but I'm kind of curious about where they went after that. You know, like on the about page, do they have the same, they have the same options as the homepage, right? In the header.
Yeah.
So that's not a problem. That means that after they've checked out about, they can still select their audience track kind of. So that seems fine. Chronic health conditions. Where's that one? Whoops. Like how would they get there
I
from
think if we
here?
go conditions we work with, yeah. And now this page is really just like a list of conditions. So
I noticed that. So I was like, this could be more like landing pages. That's I did definitely look at this when I was considering like,
like a really extensive list of things that we work with. May or may not be useful anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, certainly if you're wanting to focus in on these three categories that you're really good at, I mean, a lot of these things, I'm sure pelvic pain and chronic pain or overlapping a lot. But yeah, I would ditch this one and I would break it into like put it up in the menu and make it three buckets kind of. Okay, that's interesting. Makes sense that it's further down. Locations, no, that's a different thing. And that's the end of our list. So this one's something you could revisit if you're unsure about. Oh no, it's not the end of our list. I just wasn't seeing the. Let's just really quick see. Okay, rates. Some people go to rates. That makes sense. Yoga therapy for clinicians. These are the medical providers. What is yoga therapy? What is yoga therapy? That one's down below too. Whoops.
That's a blog post. Yeah, it's a blog post.
Learn. Is it this one? Yeah. Okay. It's interesting. More people are clicking conditions than learn more about yoga therapy. That's interesting. Maybe it's more specific.
Yeah.
Some people are going straight to 478 breathing. Is this rotating?
Yes.
That's interesting. How long ago was the 478 breathing thing published?
I feel like that was a while ago.
And we're looking at like the last 28 days.
Or yeah, past week. Or month, yeah. I'm not sure how they're getting there. That's interesting.
An alternate nostril breathing.
Same thing with
prenatal therapy.
Those are blog posts.
Ooh, interesting. Are we like missing something? And sorry, these are the most recent in order.
I think so.
Looks like they are.
Yeah.
Huh. Fascinating. And it's just a 3, so it's not like they can even click back. Huh. Could I be wrong in that these are direct? I think they have. Doesn't make sense. Like landing page is where they originally entered. It's possible there are steps in between. That actually I'm sure is probably the thing, but these people went deep. These are popular blog posts, I think, as they're like standing out a little bit. Not that
Yeah.
4 visits is like so popular, but it's
They're
enough that
getting
they
there.
are stepping. They're kind of
Yeah.
above the rest. Oh, and this is cool. We are seeing like some people came in through this is the like primarily ranking post because it's older. Some people are getting through to the other one, assuming it's, not us and stuff.
Yeah, right.
Cool. So anyway, let's not belabor the point, but that could be a cool page to come back to and kind of see like
Yeah.
where people are going.
Yeah.
And I think there is a way, I know there is a way to make the report a little bit more specific around like direct, that like drop off.
Yeah. Yes, yes. I don't remember how to make that either.
We know how to do it. We just would need to remember.
Yes.
So that could be something in the future, but
Yeah.
seems like a lot of steps that are more important than that first.
Yeah. All
All right.
right, cool. This was super helpful.
Cool. Well, I want to see how it goes. When you
Yeah.
make the changes, hopefully we can um, look back again and see how it affected everything.
The improvements, yeah. I'm wondering about the internal linking task. Is that something that you could do?
Yeah, definitely.
That would be, I just think that having like the outsider perspective is awesome. So if you could add that to your list, that would be
Okay.
great. And then the design for the condition specific landing page, do you think it has to be significant? Can it be pretty much the same as the individuals? Because that's something that I should have Roxana look at, or just do it off of the current template we have?
I think you could use the current template. I think the only thing is if you start building it and you realize there's actually like different content buckets that I think you could probably fill out the for individuals page with a condition in mind. But maybe you'll find like, oh, actually, we need to have like 3 paragraphs of text and how to make that look good. If it's not fitting, then why don't you try and see?
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it kind of depends on what text you want to put on there. I'm going to put informal linking audit. One thing that's helpful, this is not something you necessarily need to know since you're trying to outsource that task, but another thing that can be good is going into Ahrefs or one of the SEO tools that do audits, and they'll often find like orphan pages that don't really have links to them or so that's kind of like one of the important parts of the internal linking is not just making sure that because there'll be some blog posts that are really easy to link to that have a title that's just a phrase that comes up a lot, but then it can be tough to notice without a tool if there's a page that doesn't have any links going to it or only has like 1 or 2.
Sure.
Is it part of your practice when you post a new one to go and put links throughout? So you're probably covering that.
But the awareness about the anchor link, the anchor text is not there.
Yeah. So that could be cool using a tool that like lists out what all the anchor text is and you can be like, wow, does this make sense given where they're going? Cool. All right, I'll look into that.
Cool.
All right. Great. Well, thanks for letting me record this conversation and share it with people.
Yeah. I hope that's useful for everybody. All right. I'm gonna go eat some lunch.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Talk to you soon.
Bye, Jules.